Hey everybody, Steve here. I'm trying to show how to do the kind of pencil drawings that I do. Not really how to do it, but the tools that I use. I'm using my computer camera with the microphone. Hopefully this works. It was working, then it wasn't working. Anyway, I use a mechanical pencil, and I thought it might be interesting for some of you to see what I do. Others will go, I already know all this stuff, so maybe this will be helpful, maybe it won't. Here's the mechanical pencil that a lot of you are familiar with, that has a thin piece of lead and a little metal thing, and you push the button and the lead comes out. And you can get a pretty fine line. This is a 0.7. This is a mechanical pencil that I got. By the way, I use this one for like signing my name, just taking notes. I don't use this one for artwork very much, and I'll get more into that. This is one I got when I was a little boy. I think I was maybe 8 or 10 years old. It's a 0.3 piece of lead. It's extremely thin. And I can't even show you it. This is not the lead. That's the metal thing. I don't even have the lead anymore. The lead is very, very fine, so it does have a pretty sharp point, but it breaks all the time. This one is a little thicker, doesn't break all the time. What I use is a mechanical pencil that has a thick piece of lead. Let's see if the camera picks that up very well. Yeah. And it goes into this old-fashioned drafting pointer. It puts a point on a piece of lead. So you put it in here, you spin it around, and it sharpens this piece of lead. You can also use these with a wooden pencil if you have this old-fashioned pencil sharpener, which I have in a drawer somewhere. You basically don't sharpen the lead, you sharpen the wood away from the lead so that you have this long piece of lead sticking out of your wooden pencil. That's step one, and then step two would be to put it into one of these things. Well, it's a million times easier just to get a mechanical pencil with a piece of lead. And because the lead is thicker and then it comes to a point, it doesn't break very easily, and the tip is nice and sharp. Now, what kind of lead do I use? When I'm drawing the underdrawing of my paintings, I don't want to use a really soft lead, which would be like a 2B or a 3 or 4 or 5B, obviously a 6B. The higher you go in the direction of the B, you're getting softer and softer, which is darker and darker. And the reason I don't want to use a soft leaded pencil is obviously because it's going to crumble. It's going to spread. It's going to be too crumbly and too indistinct. Now, if I was making a drawing, that's a completely different thing. The underdrawing is the foundation for my painting, but it's just a series of lines to let me know where I'm going when I'm painting. I don't want to see this. I don't want anybody to see this. It's just a reference point. So a thin, sharp, distinct line is what I'm going for. Now, why don't I use a really hard lead pencil? Well, because it's like a needle, and it's going to actually dig a little crevice into my relatively delicate watercolor paper. I mean, really all watercolor paper is fairly delicate. So what I use is a little bit harder than a 2B. 2B is the kind of pencil lead that's in every pencil, your basic pencil that all kids get from school. It's a 2B, I believe. There's HB, and then there's 2H and 3H and 4H, and they're getting harder and harder. So the ones that I've been using for a long time now are a 2H. So think about it. If I had something softer, I could put a nice point on it using this little pointer. There's also, this is the more frequently seen type of pointer. It's smaller. I've had this since 1983, I think. And I've had this one since, I don't know, maybe 10 years after that. I think they still sell these. Whatever the case, this is a lead pointer. You put it in there, you spin it around, and there's a little blade inside here that as you're spinning around, it gives it a nice point. If I have it too soft and I put a point on it, that soft point will immediately crumble when I push down very much. Maybe not immediately, but it'll crumble, and I'll lose my point very quickly, and I'll have to keep sharpening and sharpening and sharpening. Meanwhile, I'm getting little black or dark lead crumbs on my drawing surface, my painting. I don't want that. But if it's too hard, like a 4H, 5H, 6H, any of those hard lead, that's actually like a little razor. And I can't even see it really well after I do a few washes. That light lead might be hard to see, but more importantly, it's too sharp, it's too pointy, and it's going to possibly cut a little crevice into the paper. So for me, I've found that a 2H, this is a mechanical pencil. I don't know what you call this lead. Hang on a second. What is the size of this? 2 millimeters. This is a 2 millimeter piece of lead in a mechanical pencil. This one is from a million years ago, made in Italy. Gosh, whatever brand it is, it's been, Tacro. I don't even know if they make those anymore. This is a German-made Staedtler, which is, I think, still being sold today. Hopefully you can see that. It's a mechanical pencil with a 2 millimeter piece of lead in the middle. I poke it out just long enough that I can then put a point on it, and that's what you're going to see me use whenever I do my underdrawing, which is a very sharp but not too sharp, dark enough but not too dark kind of a drawing that when I'm done, after all of my painting layers, you won't really see the pencil lines at all. They'll be completely covered up by the paint for the most part. In a very light area, you might see a little bit of pencil, and that's where I use a kneaded eraser. This is one that I've had for a while. And the important thing about a kneaded eraser is that you literally have to pull it apart, and that takes the lead that's in there, the little crumbs of lead that are in there, and they will fall out, and it'll be clean again, and you then can reuse it over and over again. When I first had this, I don't know, whenever I got it a million years ago, not this one, but this type of kneaded eraser, I didn't understand that you had to literally pull on it like a wad of bubble gum or something in order to get the lead out of there and to keep it clean. If you just smush it around, you're just keeping the lead in there. So pulling it apart, and if you needed to, you could actually put a point on the kneaded eraser if you only wanted to erase a tiny bit. Because remember, the surface of the watercolor paper is fairly delicate, and you don't want to scuff it. You don't want to scrape it. You don't want to cause any kind of a disturbance that when you put a clear wash of watercolor over it, that scuffing might actually show through the clear paint. So I'm really careful about when I'm painting, and if I have to erase it all, and I normally don't have a problem with that very much, but if I did, I would use a kneaded eraser very lightly to erase whatever mistakes I might make. But I don't really make that many mistakes when I'm doing the drawing because I'm using a projector to project the image, and I'm just doing a very cautious outline of all the things that I need to see when I'm painting. Some things I just don't need to see them because it's obvious what they are and I don't need it. But it's just it's an outline. No shading is being done in the course of my underdrawing. So I'll show that next. But I just wanted to get this little video done here to kind of experiment with this camera and with this microphone and to see if everything is clear enough for you to see. So that's all for now.